Make sure everybody's settled. Everybody good back? All right, Matt, go ahead and get us started.
Coach, it's been about 10 years since Duke has won 4 straight in this rivalry against UNC, and you were 7 years old the last time UNC won 4 straight against Duke. So you have a chance to do something really special here on Saturday in terms of its rarity. But talk about how does that speak to the competitiveness of this rivalry, the fact that it's so rare to win 4 in a row?
Haven't thought of that. I think it's doesn't surprise me either, right? Because you understand in this game, rankings go out the window, records go out the window, whether you're playing home or away, doesn't matter. And so I think you really learn to appreciate each game, and it's isolated. And I think that's the thing that's, as a competitor, I think we've done well. And, anytime that you have success, that makes the other person want it even more. And so for us, it's completely about this year's group. It's 0-0 mentality. But I do think that speaks to the fact of why it's a rivalry, because each game is precious and it's difficult to win.
Coach, for the freshmen that are getting to experience the rivalry for the first time, just what do you want them to understand going into this game?
I want them to just understand that God willing, you can play more games going forward where people care, and there's spotlight, and there's noise, and there's attention, and what comes with that is an amazing opportunity. But you also want to handle it really well, where you understand it's about the preparation and about the focus. But I don't try to diminish the fact of the noise is great, the attention is great. Like if this is what you wanted, this is the good part in all of this. But there's a sacrifice that needs to be made, and attention to detail with the preparation that our guys have done up until this point, and you have to do for this game.
John, I want to ask you a slightly bigger picture question. You said, I think it's before the West Coast trip, that January was when you found out about your team.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you find out about your team in January, and what's the goal for February?
Well, January 1, our guys handled adversity really well. I mean, we won our first few games, obviously, in ACC play. I didn't feel like we played our best coming off the break. And so for me as a coach, you learn, are your guys ready to respond and, take your coaching, especially when you're winning? I think that's something our guys have done an incredible job with. When we come in to the locker room after a game where we might have won, and we're pretty critical, or just say we're honest, in terms of the areas we have to address. So I think for us, visions of how we thought we could play, maybe they haven't turned out completely that way, where we're not playing crazy fast right now, but we've played our most efficient basketball, the slower we played, ironically. And I think as you get into February, as you get into March, naturally you play in lower possession games. That's the way it is. So I think our team is learning to find our identity in terms of hitting the paint in multiple different ways on offense, protecting the paint on defense, and how that can set us up for great success. So I just think that's the evolution of our team. And I think I said this on the call on Monday. If January is the time for learning, February is the time for elevating. I'll get to March when we get to March, but that's where we're at with February. Just how can we keep elevating, with everything we're doing.
Thanks.
John, yeah, sure. You saw plenty of Caleb Wilson. Boy, you
Yeah.
were recruiting Cam and Caden. What do you sort of make of the impact that he's had in Carolina, and what do you look forward to in that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was fortunate too to spend some time around Caleb, the U18 trials as well, and he's a terrific talent. Seen him for a couple of years. He's really progressed. Saw him, play with Cam and Caden, on the Knight Riders team that they had for their great Peach Jam run and Peach Jam championship. Really good competitor. Obviously, he's an explosive athlete. He's dynamic. He can do a lot of different things on offense and defense. But the competitiveness, I think has been, high level, and the ability to impact winning in a bunch of different ways has been really impressive watching him on film.
John, kind of take it back to 2 answers ago about the evolution of this team.
Yeah.
We've talked about wanting to play faster. And
Right.
We've talked about not taking as many threes because that's where this team's strength is.
Yeah.
But, you've switched 1 through 5 in the past. This team does not switch 1 through 5
Right.
very often. How different is this team developed compared to where you thought they would be when you had them in September and then October and November?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I think this team has developed better than I could have imagined from where we were in the fall. I think every coach in the fall, you think you're only so good. You know, I think you're always thinking about how far we have to go. So I think this team has really grown and come a long way. I guess the fun part as a coach, I'm not stuck in a way of how it has to be. I think you have to let your team guide you a little bit for how you have to play. And I think fast always sounds great. That always sounds really good. Just it hasn't been how our team has been built, and that's okay. Our team is built in an amazing way, and we've had, we're one of the few teams in the country to have great efficiency in offense and defense, and I think that comes with a few different things, but mainly it comes with a team that what we found after the break is I wasn't putting our guys necessarily in the best position if we weren't going to adjust and adapt to the strengths of our team. And so the not switching, it's been a little different. I think we have to be still ready. Where we're at now is not the finished product either. So I think you kind of, you have to recenter yourself in a certain way. I think the not switching is what you're talking about, which has been good. When we mix it in some going forward, maybe. But we're going to be open-minded in February, just like we were in January as well.
Hey, Jon, you both played and have coached at the Smith Center, obviously a lot of debate about the future of that building. I wondered your thoughts about that, about college basketball, staying in kind of, historic venues, and then relatedly, you guys have thrived in a building that doesn't have the modern amenities, but has the history and the tradition of this place. You guys have never talked about leaving. I just wondered your thoughts on kind of all of that situation.
Well, I think if all the people in the world that could weigh in on the Smith Center, I would probably be the last person that people would want to hear my thoughts on. And look, for me, it's all I've ever known, and it's an incredible environment. And I know we'll be on Saturday as well, so a ton of respect. When we go over there, I don't have thoughts, on their situation, nor do they want to hear my thoughts either, I'm sure. I just know for me, I think tradition is important. For me, there's a special feeling I have when I walk on the court as the coach at Duke. And I remember what it felt like as a recruit at 16 years old, walking out here to see J.J. Redick and Duke play against Wake Forest and Chris Paul, and that's a special thing. And at the same time, you want to always make sure that you're advancing with the times, advancing, technology-wise, what can you do, and ultimately the student and fan experience, you want it to be the best that possibly can be. And that ultimately, outside of what your team can do and the great players that you have, you want to make this a special experience for any person that walks into Cameron Indoor Stadium. So for us, I think that's our focus. I know going forward, and it has been, but it's I feel pretty lucky to walk out here, every day.
Jon, there seems to be some notion, maybe nationally, that this rivalry is falling off for whatever reason. As somebody that's been in it for the last 20 years, and even maybe further than that, what would you say to that type of notion, knowing what this means to both fan bases?
I don't pay that any mind. I think that there's no denying the fact when you think about the ultimate success of both of these programs. And I know what it means around here, but I also know what it means because I didn't come from the state of North Carolina, right? And so growing up and watching these games and what it means, and I think what this game stands for college basketball, I think people can be jealous, and how much this game means. But ultimately, it's a hell of a thing to be a part of, and grateful that it still means a lot.
Jon, you were asking about the freshmen, how they might react to the game Saturday. What was it like for you as a freshman, and beyond that, maybe as a, quote, freshman head coach the first time?
Yeah, I remember my first game like it was yesterday, and was at home and lost a close game, really tough one. Played really well. I just always love being in those moments, you know, and it's, again, like I said, for me it was different because I grew up watching Duke UNC games all the time. I wouldn't miss a game. If I had to miss it for whatever reason, my dad would, what's VHS, you know, he recorded on VHS and you rewind it, and that's how I watched, you know, Chris Duhon making a layup and all these moments growing up that I have. So I was ready and excited. That's what I dreamt of, you know, it's just what it was. And for me as a coach, I think I felt the responsibility even more than I did as a player. But again, same thing, you appreciate the attention. I think I never run from that. I think you have to appreciate that as the coach at Duke. But then I just throw myself into the preparation and the focus and being the person that I want to be for our players.
Jon, you've put a lot of guys in the NBA at this point. I've noticed this morning they're already starting to talk about the Duke UNC game. Can you talk about what it means to former players, and also could you take a moment just to address the play of Kahn and Cooper, how successful they've been in the league this season? You've got McCain in a new home. Could you just talk about the NBA and Duke in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see our guys, what they've gone on to do. You know, you mentioned Kahn and Cooper. I mean, you know, when they competed against each other, what was that, a week ago or whatever that was, I had a moment where I've been the only coach to know what it's like to have those two guys on the same team. You know, and that's, you know, a special thing. And, you know, I've seen those battles against each other, you know, every day in the preseason, you know, last year, and they just help raise the level of the competitiveness, you know, with our team. But the thing I've loved seeing is just each guy's individual journey. You know, the NBA, I don't know if our guys currently or high school players especially have an appreciation for how cutthroat the NBA is. You know, I mean, it's so difficult. I mean, you look at Jared, you mentioned him. I'm so excited for him with his opportunity now with the Thunder. But, you know, he's probably on his way to Rookie of the Year. You know, has an injury and has to just now, you know, fight his way back. And now he's going to be in a new situation, which is great, but it's challenging. You know, a bunch of our guys got traded, you know, in the last 24 hours. That's part of it. Saw something where I think the 2018 draft, every lottery pick has been traded, even Shea and Luka. And so I just think for us, the best thing we can do is prepare our guys to be able to handle the things that are going to be thrown their way, especially in the NBA. And so embracing that adversity, embracing the fact there's going to be competition, that's part of it. And obviously externally, but also internally as well. And what does it mean for foreign players? I can't speak to that exactly, but I know bragging rights matters, and that's important, and we like to give our players that opportunity to have those bragging rights.
Hey Jon, we talk so much about Cameron Boozer and what he means for you guys down low, but Patrick makes a big impact as well. Can you speak to his evolution here and how important he is to what you guys do?
Yeah, Pat's incredible for us. You know, he's he's a connector, and I think for Pat, obviously he's had moments where he's really scored, and that scoring punch is important for us. But he has so many little things throughout the game. You know, his screening, his pressure on the rim, his ability to space and shoot threes. He's an incredible passer. He can defend and pick and roll. He can protect the rim. So his versatility is important for our team, and he's a team guy. He's really smart, knows every game plan, knows where to be. So I've loved coaching him. I've also loved seeing his development and seeing his growth. You know, he missed his senior year of high school, then he missed his entire preseason his freshman year, and that's difficult. So for him to come in last year playing critical moments, and then to develop into just a dependable guy this year for us has been great to see.
Hey Coach, what is a memory that stands out to you from this rivalry? Is there one that stands out among the rest? Is there a favorite of yours, either as a player or as a coach or as a fan when you were young?
You know, I have a lot of them. You know, I mean, obviously there's so many moments in this rivalry, good and bad. You remember them both. You know, for me, especially the last time I played in this rivalry was my senior night. and we won 82-50, and that's my last game I ever played here, which is, you know, meaningful. You know, obviously you think about the different moments. I mentioned Chris Duhan, you know, C-Du making the layup, you know, the reverse layup. I think the next day I was going to practice and practicing that, you know, afterwards before. I remember playing professionally in Spain, and it's probably 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching, I think on my phone, or my computer, and Austin Rivers, you know, Austin hits the shot, and I'm yelling, and nobody's there. You know, it's a strange feeling. I can go down the line. My first time in as a coach, you know, was meaningful, but I can go down the line. I think part of what you cherish in those moments, you understand the heartbreak that you can have when you lose. It goes both ways, and I think that's what you have to be willing to take when you put yourself in a position to be in this game.
There's a lot of attention on the freshmen in this rivalry, but Caleb Foster has been here for 2 years. He's had the wins, he's had the losses. How have you seen him mature through this rivalry? And has he kind of stepped up, said anything to the team approaching this game?
Well, Caleb, you know, he's just, I think, shown just great competitiveness, great leadership in different key moments for us, being able to handle adversity. Thought last year, actually, in this moment, you know, playing at their place, playing the ACC tournament, I thought were two big moments for him last year. And then I think just what he's done recently, even being sick as could be, coming back in that Virginia Tech game. So I think Caleb, you know, he talks, but I think he's a guy that really leads by his action. And what he's done for our team this year, how he's sacrificed for our program, how he's been a team first guy, I think that speaks for itself. And again, knowing him, just him being ready for action on Saturday is going to be the best thing he can do.
Jon, can you speak a little bit about the backcourt matchup? Obviously, a lot of talk will be on the frontcourt matchup, but UNC's kind of had a revolving door back there, but they've kind of settled on a rotation with freshman Derek Dixon, Seth Trimble, obviously played him, but then other guys like Luka Bogovac. Can you talk about kind of what that matchup poses for your team?
Yeah, well, those guys are really good, and I think part of what's difficult, the fact that they've had, you know, they played multiple guys in the backcourt, is you can't just key in on one guy. And each one of those players you mentioned, I mean, Trimble, obviously we've known, and he's had a really good career, and he's you know, great at getting downhill, and he's shooting the ball well, and he does a lot of things really well. But those other guys, you have to be careful when guys come off the bench. You know, whether they start, you know, same way or not, they have good depth there. So I think the discipline to, you know, not be hugged up to anybody, but also know where they're at, because they're all capable. They have good perimeter depth, which is, I think, trickier in some respects, as opposed to just one guy or two players that you just have to key in on.
Yep. You talked about Caleb Wilson earlier. Beyond him, what are the biggest individual challenges you face with Carolina, and the different challenges this year, because it's a lot taller team than you saw last year?
Yeah, well, their team, you know, they put a lot of pressure on the paint. You know, with, you know, they post up, they transition, offensive boards, they get to the free throw line, and then they're also capable from three. You know, they're a better shooting team, no question, than last year. And so I think that ability to put pressure on the paint and then space better, they have two really good players, you know, in Wilson and Visar in that front court, where they can pass. They're versatile. They're versatile, so they can go inside and out. But I think that just their length and their size inside is a big strength that's different, and it's kind of the way I've known them, how we've always competed against them. I mean, it's always been that way with them having big guys inside, and they have that this year for sure.
Last one here.
Hey, Jon, yeah, you mentioned you guys not being the finished product, obviously, right now. Like, what specifically are the things where you think there is still the most room for growth for this team?
Well, you know, look, for us, it's hard for me to say, right? Because, you know, I think our offense can always be better. We have the most efficient offense in the country the last 5 games, you know, and it's hard to believe when you score 25 points, you know, in the last game and a half. I think that I better double check that actually, I'm not sure. But I think there's just, for me, it's not like overwhelming one thing. I think it's about winning as many possessions as you can back. And I think that shows up in a few different ways. I think that shows up with some shot selection. I think that shows up with, how can we value the ball and save 2 more possessions. Defensively, I would call it just collective awareness, think of understanding game situations, time and score. You see a lot of different situations throughout the country that we haven't necessarily been in, that I want us to continue to be prepared for and be ready for. So it's less about like one specific skill. I think it's more about the understanding how you win in March and understanding just how you win in the margins. And so that's been our focus and my focus of just how can we win 1, 2, 3 possessions each game. How can we get better in those areas? All right, thanks for being here. All right.